Welcome to the program What Linear Form. In this project, students will pick a form, slope-intercept form, point slope form, or standard form, and transfer their equation to a different form. So this project exactly that I'm going to lead through goes from point slope form to slope-intercept form. Let's get started. So right away here, what I've done is I have created some sprites here using the paint tool in order to kind of make this screen the way I want. And to give value to what students want to do in their creativity, sometimes it's important to not show them your example so that they get a chance to kind of create how they see this program running. This is how I chose to do this. So I've got my point slope form on the top, and below here it's going to transfer this to slope intercept form. So what I've done here in variables is I've created three variables here, and I've put them above in my slope-intercept form equation. So m is my slope, x1 and y1 is my point used for point slope form. So I'm going to need another variable now for slope-intercept form. I'm going to call this capital M for the slope. And if I double click this, I'm going to drag it within my equation. I'll create another one and I'll call this my b value, my y-intercept. Double click and drag it down into my equation. So the first kind of part of this guide is just creating kind of the structure, how you want your program to look, by creating variables and the setup of your screen. So now as we get started, I'm going to start with a green flag to start my program. And typically when we start our program, we want all of our variables to go to a certain value. 0 is a very popular starting value. A question mark sometimes works. So what I'm going to type in here is I'm going to do a question mark. You can right hand click and duplicate these, or right click. So we've got B as a question mark, M is a question mark, capital M, X1, and Y1. And notice when I start my program, everything turns to a question mark here. So my program's ready to start. Now what we'll start with is a question. We'll ask, what is the slope of your line? And whatever the user types in here to the answer to their question will be stored in this answer block. So next what we need to do is we need to set the slope, and I call this the little slope of my point slope form, to the answer that they type in. We can also set our capital M to that answer because the slope will remain the same in point slope form and slope intercept form. The next question we want to ask is, what is the x value of your point? And same process, we're going to store this to the corresponding variable, x1. So we can take our answer and store it here. Then we want to know the y value of our point. And we're going to set y1 to that variable. So right now, if I were to run the program, it's going to ask for the slope, the x value, y value, and it is plugged in here. So the last thing we need to solve for is the y-intercept. And we're going to use some operator blocks to do this. So I'm going to come in here and say set b. And I'm going to start by, if I look at my program here, I'm going to be multiplying, I'm going to be distributing this. So I'm going to take my slope and multiply it by my x1 variable. So I'm going to come into operators, I need a multiply symbol here, and I'm going to take my little m and multiply it by x1. Oops. Sorry, -1 first. We've got a negative sign here in my parentheses, so I'm going to make this negative, whatever it is, and then I'm going to multiply it by my slope. And finally, at the end, we need to add over this y value. Right now it's a -3. We're going to add it to the other side to the value that's currently being stored. So we're going to add our y1 value. Now let's see what this program does. What is the slope? We'll say 2, 1, 4. And if I were to distribute this, I'm going to get a -2. And then I'm going to add 4 to that, which brings me to a positive 2 for my y-intercept, and my slope does remain the same. This is the what linear form program, and this can take any type of equation in any type of linear equation and transform it into other forms.